All right, we're back. We're going to talk about the CFL now. Week 9 has come and gone, and a lot of interesting things have happened over it in terms of who's kind of moved up, and of course the Riders are still in the bottom, so the ceiling is still low for them. But we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the top performances in week number 9, and this is where I want to talk to you guys. Aaron is a football guy, and what you saw those 4 games, who to you made the best performance, either team, individual-wise? And I'll bring it up. So you have the Calgary Stampeders dominating performance, Bo Levi Mitchell, and you look at what the Stamps did both offensively and defensively against BC. Then you look at the Montreal Alouettes making the race interesting, and you look at Carter, who looks like he's kind of, you know, granted, I guess that love-to-hate type of player, especially against the Ottawa Redblacks. Exactly. But you know what? He does back it up, and he did in week number 9. Then you also have another team, the Edmonton Eskimos, who came out with a big statement win, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders ultimately got thrashed by Zach Collaros and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 5 touchdowns. Which performance was the best?
I think you can discount the Ticats game. That Riders D is
I could put up 5 TVs against the Riders.
They're real bad. I'm taking Calgary, beating BC. BC started looked like they were going to be a good team, and Calgary took it to them. But a fun league so far. Everyone's good. Everyone's really good other than the Riders. So it'll be interesting to see what happens the next, 10 weeks or whatever they have left.
I guess 8 or 9 teams.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
How many golds did we end up with? Because I'm still looking at how.
Okay, we did a prediction here, Aaron. I gave a comment here on the show, and I've said this before, where I said Canada will get more gold medals than the Riders will have wins. Riders have 1. We had 4 gold medals at the Olympics.
This is an easy gold medals on the way.
Rio.
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Riders are terrible. But anyway, back to the question at hand. I'm going to go Montreal. I think making that interesting. As you said, 10 weeks or whatever it's left to play. There's tons of football left. And now every team's literally right there, 4-4, 3-4. I guess they're all at. So that, to me, that making that East that way, now the playoffs are up for grabs for anybody. So that crossover match too, that's going to make it fun to come down the stretch. And they're all within good. They're not like any dominant. So that's the nice thing. It's going to be all even. So it's going to be interesting coming out of the East.
UFC 202 did not disappoint for a lot of fans. When you look at Conor McGregor and Nick Diaz going the full distance with a decision going to McGregor, those guys, if you look at the vids, definitely bloodied up. And I guess it was worth the price of admission no matter what you went. Some people find it a little controversial because they felt that Diaz should have been given a decision considering how he came out with a couple flurries of his own in a few rounds. But ultimately, McGregor was the winner. Do you find that to be the right call?
I only saw the highlights, and it looked like McGregor was dominating early, knocked him down a couple times. But Diaz, the guy can take a lick, man. It's crazy. He just keeps getting up every time, and he looks like he came back at the end of it. And it came down to, what was it, 1 point on 2 ballots?
2 points, 1 point per ballot.
So, it doesn't get any closer than that. I didn't watch all 5 rounds. I've seen a big chunk of it, but not the whole thing. I really don't know. When it's that close, it's pretty much a coin flip. So, McGregor looked like Diaz's face didn't look like he got the end of it,
UFC is just sitting there like milking the money right now because they know there's going to be a third fight. There has to be. Like when you have that close, that much decision, like 1 point on 2 cards, round 3, that could probably, if you build a card around that could be bigger than what, say, Pacquiao and Mayweather was in money-wise. If you build a proper card around that, like UFC 200 could have been.
I don't know if they can get as big as boxing.
In
terms of what they've achieved over the past year.
But if you build the card properly, UFC 200 should have been that big of a card, but then it just obviously flopped. Every match on there was a total disaster, and the cards are supposed to be. If you headline it with a Diaz-McGregor fight and then start adding in some other ones, hopefully Lesnar's not around and still not get suspended. If you can get him on the card, add all your championships, get everything back, that could be a just billion-dollar card, basically.
No question.
I was going to mention, too, we'll give you actually another comment. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I'm not a huge UFC guy, but like Andrew said, if they build a card around that based on the last 2 matches, that's something that I want to watch. I want to see. I might even pay money for it. So, they might be able to really spin that thing, the third round, into something really big.
Won't happen for the next 6 months. Of course, McGregor getting injury leave during that time. And if you looked at his face, you get why. All right, let's move on to another Connor now. Connor McDavid. And there's a lot of people saying, you know what, with the vacancy for the captain, we give him the job. He'll be the youngest captain ever in the National Hockey League if he is chosen. I think this is a pretty good idea. Does he deserve the captaincy, or is he the only choice for the captaincy, Andrew?
He's not the only choice. I'd give it to Lucic over, even though he's a new guy coming in, I'd give it to a guy who's more experienced in the league, who can, especially on this team. This team's a disaster, let's be honest. Even with McDavid there, they're still a mess. They still have lots to figure out. The last thing you need is to put that much more pressure on someone he is a superstar, we know that, but you don't need to add that. Give it to somebody else. Like I went through the roster and I couldn't figure out even one other guy to give it to other than Lucic. Maybe Benoit Pouliot.
But now you're stretching there. I don't see it being that big of an issue, considering how many kids have been captains in their time and have done exceptionally well. It's not like this guy's a one-trick pony. He came in, and even though he played about 45 games or so, he still lit it up, considering what he had to go through in Edmonton. I think he's deserving the captaincy, much like Sidney Crosby was, much like Jonathan Toews was, much like Gabriel Landeskog. You can even throw in Steve Yzerman if you want to go all the way back there. Those guys were teenagers, and they excelled in their job. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, he's the best player on the team, no question, but it's a lot of responsibility. It's do you want him worrying about the leadership role when you just need him filling the net? I get it. I totally get he's the best player, he might be the best personality. I just think it's a lot of pressure. So you'd have to be in the locker room, see how he handles the older guys, how he needs to worry about the goalie, he needs to worry about the defenseman, he has to deal with the coaches. Just let the guy go out there for a couple more years and play hockey.
How about this? I'll throw this out here. What about Wayne Gretzky? I don't necessarily say he was a vocal guy, but he needed someone with him that complimented him. He had Mark Messier. I think Lucic could be an alternate captain, and he could be his Messier, a power forward who's not, who's willing to speak up and help his boy. McDavid is your leader because he makes everybody else better. And with that, he doesn't necessarily have to be a rah-rah guy. I think he could just be himself, be like, guys, we got to pick it up. I'll put you on my back. We're going to go.
But that's
he seems like the guy to do it at 18.
That's where the personality I see from a Lucic. Lucic seems like the guy who's, we know him as the tough power forward player, like the Jerome McGinley, if you want to call it that. So in the Western Conference, where it's a dirty conference, it's a gritty, it's bashing each other. It's a lot of in that conference that I think Lucic plays more into that role. If you need a fight, if you need a big hit, if you need something to happen, Lucic is more likely to go and produce that for you, rather than McDavid. McDavid can score, and but you need that crowd moment where you need to big hit or something. Lucic is going to be the guy who does it.
Yeah, but when you have a guy instantly like McDavid, and you put him on a line with Lucic, I think McDavid is the type of guy that elevates everybody's game.
Well, I'm sure the whole.
And I think,
it's Edmonton. Anything elevates.
Well, yeah,
Edmonton.
but I think he's as electric. Yes, you're saying you need a big hit. I don't necessarily think you always need a big hit, but if you can get a guy like McDavid, who's like, you know what, you give me a good minute on the ice, I can make things happen. He doesn't necessarily. You don't need a guy you get rocked in order to get the people in Edmonton going. You need a guy like him with the skill set he has and the drama that he creates, or I guess the headaches I should say he creates for the opposition. I think it would be a smooth transition. I think he would be a great
the other
captain.
reason, too, is if you have a young guy and the team's so young. Like, how many young guys? We got Larson, you got all these other guys. You have all these other guys who are young. Let them grow together, and give it to McDavid then.
All right, guys, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to return with Over Under next.